Update. My 28 female parents were given $30,000 from my grandparents for a wedding and down payment for me. They spent all of it in vacations and now want me to take out a loan for a wedding. Original post. Long story short, my grandparents are wealthy. My mother is very spoiled and self-centered. Additionally, I believe she likely has a cluster B personality disorder. Every single situation is somehow about her. My dad's side can't stand her because she sows chaos anywhere she goes. For example, my dad's side threw a birthday party for one of my cousins. The whole day was focused on a fight because she spent $8 on ingredients to make a lasagna to bring, then ruins the poor kid's birthday. This is just one example, but this every situation, every time she's the center of everything. Her family's pretty wild. I've been present for multiple fist fights between her and her sisters. Every fight stems from someone getting more money than the other. One time, my mom had a phone cord wrapped around my aunt's neck. Although terrible, it was kind of impressive to be honest, as my mom's a small person. Anyway, despite my grandparents being wealthy, I grew up pretty poor in the beginning. My mom got cut off a few years, probably had something to do with the phone cord incident. I remember going to food banks for food, clothes for donations, etc. When things did get better, my parents refused to spend any money on me. If I had clothes for school, it was because my aunt bought me an outfit for Christmas. I mean, they were ridiculous with it. My grandfather, dad's side, tried to get custody of me due to neglected alcoholism. As for the wealthy grandparents, look, I'm not entitled. It's their money. But every grandchild except me got their college paid for, got a car, a down payment on a house, and a wedding. Super freaking generous. I was just hurt that I got none of these things. It felt personal. I felt it was their way of communicating that they loved me less, and that damaged our relationship. Fast forward to this week. I'm engaged. I wasn't expecting a big wedding. I was okay with eloping. But I figured my parents might want to do something since I'm their only kid. So I asked them what they wanted to do. Well, my mom was drunk because, it's 2 p.m., confesses to the $30,000 thing. Then the next day, non-stop pressuring me into taking out a loan. I refused and say, you were given $30,000 for a wedding and a down payment, but you decided vacations and cars were more important. Then the whole thing gets turned into, poor her. Can you believe she won't get to plan a wedding with her daughter because the daughter expects a wedding to be paid in full? What a spoiled witch. Now I have relatives calling me up with this BS. They're under the impression that I'm being a diva. I keep dodging the conversation, but I don't know how long I can do it. Because once my relatives find out, there is no saving her reputation with them. Also, through all of this, found out my grandparents did give money for college. The problem is they gave it to my mom and she spent it. It must have been a decent amount too because my grandparents are under the impression that they paid my college in full. I'm at a loss. I haven't talked to my parents in a week. I know they're my parents and I need to forgive them no matter what, but this is hard. It almost feels like they aren't my parents anymore. That bonding feeling, or whatever it is gone. Sorry that this post was long. It felt cathartic typing this out. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Are your grandparents still alive? If yes, then tell them everything about what happened to the money. If they aren't, tell your relatives everything. And I mean the entire truth. What's the point trying to cover up your mom's reputation when clearly she's a horrible person? How long will you keep enabling her and her condescending attitude? Choice is yours. Oh, be this. You haven't done anything to your mom's reputation. She did all of that, and you're the victim. Don't let her turn you into the devil for this. She's a narcissist and needs to be shown for who she is. Jumping on this to add that OP is under no obligation to forgive her parents no matter what. Everyone gets to choose where their line is, and when/if they want a relationship with someone. Cut out all of the middlemen and speak to your grandparents. Explain to them that the reason you're not speaking to your parents is that they have recently confessed that they spent the college and wedding money that your grandparents gave to them that was intended for you. Explain to your grandparents that you're extremely hurt by this, because not only does it show how dishonest, selfish, and unloving your parents are towards you, but you have existed for years believing that you were the only grandchild that your grandparents never helped for some unfathomable reason, and so you always felt rejected and cast aside by them too. The damage that has been done by their actions is wide-ranging, and not only are you emotionally hurt, but you have college debt and could be in a significantly better financial position if this hadn't happened. It's also worth pointing out that in most countries, this would constitute fraud and theft. They have defrauded your grandparents by pretending to have used this money for the intended purpose. They have stolen this money from you. Your mother asking you to take out the loan is not about wanting to plan your wedding. It's about the fact that she wants to continue the lie to your grandparents. Her plan is that you take out the loan, have a $30,000 wedding, and she tells them that their money paid for it, while you were left with more debt, on top of your college debt. Do not assist your mother in defrauding your grandparents further. This is your grandparents' money. They deserve to know the truth of what happened to it, and why in all these years you never thanked them for any of the money they believed they gave you. Honestly, this would be enough for me to never speak to my parents again. I would even consider reporting them to the police, but I guess your grandparents would need to support that. Your parents' actions are so selfish and cruel is unreal, and the fact other relatives try to save you from their care speaks volumes. Why your grandparents thought giving them the money was a good idea, I don't know. Please note also that throughout all of this, I have said parents, although you seem very focused on your mother alone. This was both of your parents. There is no excuse for your father having allowed any of this to happen. He is just as culpable and has benefited from the theft of your money. Once your grandparents are aware, tell your other relatives. You have done nothing wrong and don't deserve to suffer the consequences of keeping their actions a secret. And now for the update 1 year later. Not the exact wording of the first post, but it's still up. It is now a little over a year since. I appreciate all of the replies and I apologize for not getting back to everyone, but I read all of them. A lot of you showed sympathy for my grandparents, which is fair. But I think I should disclose that my grandfather is not the most ethical person. He is/was a really cutthroat business person. He was very awful to his children. Also, once he starts giving you huge gifts, he feels you're indebted to him. I was in shock and very emotional when I wrote that post. I went to Reddit because I felt I couldn't get it together enough to remain calm when talking to anyone else. I have a tendency to come off as defensive, which makes it seem like I did something wrong, which I think they were banking on. I didn't talk to my parents or any of my family much for a month. There was a word going around that I blew all the money. It was laying low until it all blew over. Then when people started asking me directly about it, I was able to remain calm and say I was never offered any money. People really grilled me about where the money went. I never got emotional or defensive. Just, I was never offered any money. Maybe you should ask them about the BMW. So everyone knows. I was afraid they wouldn't believe me at first. But considering my parents were financially abusive in my younger years, it wasn't a far stretch. I never planned a wedding because I knew my parents would lie and say they paid for it. I really considered going no contact. My husband talked me into low contact, but we both agreed that we will never give them any money or nice gifts. We will do the bare minimum. As for my grandparents, this conflict is now between them and my parents. Again, everyone is fully aware and no one faults me. Your parents stole the money from your grandparents, intended not only for your wedding, but another considerable sum for your education? Then they expect you to take out a loan to pay for your mom to have the pleasure of organizing your wedding? They are complete narcissists. Firstly, congratulations on your marriage. Sounds like you had a low-key wedding? Good on you for celebrating within your budget and making the best art possible in your marriage. Secondly, I'm amazed how you have remained calm and dignified with your relatives as they speculated about your spending. The truth is out, but nobody's agitating on your behalf for your parents to make restitution for their thievery. I hope your mother's share of the inheritance is adjusted for this sum once your grandmother passes. Finally, your parents have inadvertently given you the gift of self-reliance, which will serve you well into the future as you pay off college debt and save for your children's future and your retirement. Is that how they justified withholding the money from you? Since maybe your mom never got anything from her parents? Honestly, it's not worth talking to them to find out. All the best for a future filled with love for the family you've created for yourself. My mother did get a lot from her parents, but they cut her off for a period of time. I don't think this even registers in her mind as wrong. When I was a young teen, I had to get a job to help pay for basic hygiene products and clothes. They were authorized on my bank account since I was a minor. They wouldn't let me have access to it, and stole money from it constantly. They always treated me like I was a financial burden just for existing. They expected their siblings and parents to pay for my necessities. I think they feel this is reimbursement for raising me. I'm angry on your behalf that your extended family knew of this financial mistreatment and yet did nothing to help you. Parents are obligated to nurture and look after their children. Your parents' narcissism knows no bounds. In some ways, I'm glad you're not completely no contact, as seeing them occasionally just reminds you how far you've moved on from them. I hope your in-laws are fabulous. I think your husband is wrong about low contact. It should be no contact. What's the point of having them in your life? They sound awful and abusive. So, your grandparents gifted you $30,000 and your parents spent it? Or to rephrase that, your parents blew $30,000 of your money? Why are you still in contact with these people? I get their family, but they don't seem to give a crap about you. They actually handed my parents $50,000. They wanted them to use that $50,000 to pay for a wedding, put a down payment on a home for me, and use the remainder, no more than $20,000, towards their debt. Unfortunately, they gave the money to them, not me. They wanted my parents to be responsible for divvying out the money. I guess to make sure I made good decisions when purchasing. But they didn't do that. Legally, I don't have a leg to stand on. There was no paperwork. It was a gift. And believe me, my grandparents would not look kindly on me taking this to court and would not back me up. They're also both in poor health, and I don't want to put that extra chaos on them. I don't know how much longer they're going to live. Next story. I found out that my parents paid out my sister's tuition loans and pressured them to keep it a secret from me. Not that I'm jealous or even slightly upset. I'm just curious to find out why, and more importantly, why they stressed it should be kept a secret from me. I, 23 male, recently graduated from a top master's degree. During my undergrad, I had many scholarships and grants. Everything was virtually free. For the miscellaneous, it was super expensive, so I took out a loan to cover the cost. It was fine by me because now I make twice as much as I paid, and I can easily redeem my debt if I wanted to. My parents didn't contribute to my education, and I never asked them to. Recently, I found out that my sisters, 25 and 21, had no outstanding debt. I had to arrange trades and due diligence in their accounts. As requested, it was surprised to see no debt, considering that a year earlier they couldn't stop complaining about it. $150,000 combined. I was happy for them at first glance, but when I told them about it over Thanksgiving, they seemed shaken, like I saw something I wasn't supposed to see. A few days later, my older sister told me that our parents paid everything for them, and were clear in instructing them to keep me in the dark. I asked why, but couldn't get a definitive answer. From what I could tell, my sister knows the reason, but has refused to tell me. I'm just really curious. I have a great relationship with my parents. They've always been positive about my education and work. I'm just fretting the possibility they might be thinking I'm a failure or too reckless or such like. Again, I earn decently and live very comfortably, and my parents know all about it. Not sure if I'm just making a big deal out of nothing, but would really appreciate any insight here. Do I just leave it behind or talk about it? It's pretty awful for your parents to do that. It's one thing to pay for them and not you, but it's another thing to lie and hide it. Rather than them thinking you're a failure, I'd say it's much more likely they knew you'd make it on your own without their help. They may not have been so confident in your sisters. It's not pretty crappy of his parents to do so. It's super crappy. Talk to them. You're not making a big deal out of nothing. It's a huge deal for them to treat you so differently to your sisters and to keep it a secret from you. Anyone in your position would be hurt and questioning their motives. Talk to your parents. Whether you really need the money or not, it's BS to give two kids $150,000 and a third kid $0. Even if you were totally debt-free, if they had $150,000 total to give their kids, each should have gotten an equal amount. As an aside, it would be totally normal for you to be jealous and upset. This is BS on your parents' part, and you are allowed to have feelings about it. I agree 100% this is not right, and clearly they know it was wrong. That's why they kept it a secret. I would disagree that everyone should always get an equal amount. Opie seems to be more gifted than his siblings. Life is never fair with what it hands out. You may argue that it's his hard work and diligence that got him where he is, and you would be absolutely right. But if you think about it, some people can put in the work and some cannot. Maybe it's the people they meet. Maybe it is the way they're born. Maybe it is about the expectations from you. Whatever is the reason, Opie's far better off than her siblings. If they gave $50,000 to Opie, it would definitely be nice, but it wouldn't be life-changing. That money was probably life-changing for siblings. But if you're not equally dividing things, it can definitely create problems. The correct thing to do would be to talk to the Opie about this. If they said that they were thinking about paying off sister's debt and they thought since Opie is doing well enough, would he let them off the hook? I believe Opie wouldn't be upset about it at all. But the secrecy, the exclusion it brings, the feeling of things going on behind your back, that's just unnecessary pain they caused by choosing to go behind his back. Now for the last story. My female 17 parents have taken all my savings that I was preparing for university. What can I do? The title really says it all. I am unbelievably upset and exhausted that I just don't know what to do. I had over $4,000 saved from working the last few years that I was going to use for university next year, but it was in an account my parents controlled. My mom is a gambler and spends almost every evening at VLTs. And now she took my money to cover basic expenses like insurance and power bills. I just don't know what to do now other than wait until I can move out in July. I love my mother, but she's really screwed me over. I know there isn't a way I can get the money back. I don't even know what to say to her. Now for the advice. This happened to me before I graduated high school as well. Saved all my Christmas and birthday money every year because I knew I wanted to go to college when I finished high school. After graduating, I asked where the money was, and my parents said that it went toward my rent for the past 18 years. That makes my blood boil. They chose to have you. So any living costs incurred for the first 18 years was completely on them. I can only imagine what they spent the money on. When you get the chance, cut your contact. Eliminate what is toxic in your life and focus on making yourself happy. Also, take some solace in the fact that $4,000 is like a couple pennies when it comes to loans like that. I have no idea how she's able to access your money, but you should probably make a bank account that she can't get into. If you're under 18, you legally can't have a bank account in the US without an adult co-signing, meaning they have joint access to the account. Normally, parents aren't crappy enough to take money from their own kids, but it does still happen. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my brother-in-law see my son after causing me to miss his birth? I, male 30s, got a few close friends from college that I hang out with, including my brother-in-law, sister's husband, Austin. My wife and I are expecting our first baby, and because this was our first, we struggled with understanding things like whether my wife was going into labor or just dealing with pain/soreness. We ended up in the hospital for nothing since she was due in July. Therefore, I've limited my time out with the guys, especially in the evening/nighttime. I've skipped meetings with them to stay home by my wife's side ready for any emergencies. This made my friends upset, as they haven't seen much of me in a while. I explained my situation, but they gave me crap about it every time, especially Austin, who kept pressuring me into going out for a few beers saying he was in my shoes twice and has experience. He said that XYZ signs, can't say it here, mean my wife would soon be in labor and advised me to relax. One night, I caved into going to his farm since his birthday was days prior, and I missed it because my wife got sick. He wasn't happy and whined about it. My wife was with my in-laws and I wanted to call her, but I couldn't find my phone. I put it on the counter but it wasn't there. I borrowed one of their phones after an hour or so of search to call my wife, and her sister picked up asking where I was. I was in dismay when she said she was at a hospital with my wife because her water broke and she went into labor. I couldn't explain, so I just drove to the hospital ASAP but was met with my father-in-law berating me for ignoring his text and 18 missed calls. Then I wasn't allowed in the delivery room because my wife screamed at me to stay out. I felt awful as I waited outside while my in-laws berated me for my neglect, even when I said I lost my phone. Then Chris said Austin hid my phone after seeing father-in-law's text to get back at me for missing his birthday. I blew up at Austin calling him an SOB for doing this. Said Chris was a liar and swore he didn't see any text or calls and that he just hid it as a joke to scare me a bit. I left after this and haven't seen him in days. The guys got involved begging me to make things right with Austin who didn't know, otherwise he would have told me. So it was a misunderstanding and my wife bears the blame for not letting me into the room. But can I blame her? I still refuse to see him. And now my sister said I should let Uncle Austin see little Timmy because he's longing to meet him as family, and even cried and said I was being unfair to him and all those years of friendship we had. But I said no, I won't let him meet my son after this. Chris said Austin bragged about it later on, Then Chris decided to tell me because he thought it was wrong that I get blamed by my in-laws. Edited to Ed. I'm sorry for not responding, but I was very busy. And to make few things clear. 1. None of my family said anything about not allowing Austin to see my son except my sister and my friends. 2. Chris is one of the guys who were there that night. He and Austin aren't very close, and Austin thinks Chris hates him for no reason and doesn't like having him around much. But just for the group's sake, Austin tries to keep the peace. But in my opinion, Chris is a decent guy. 3. My in-laws are upset with me as well as my wife, and say that even though Austin was at fault, I too for being reckless and irresponsible. Now for the top comments. Not Day Hall. You need new adult friends. Nothing funny about what they did. I personally find that unforgivable. This times 1 million. Opie, you need to find friends that add to you and your family's lives, not this selfish brat. I would never forgive this guy. He would be dead to me forever. Hopefully your wife understands what he did to both you and joins you in banning him. Not Day Hall. He deliberately hid your phone so you missed your child's birth. That is the type of person you don't want around your child. Yeah. What if it had been something life-threatening for Opie's wife/child? He's not even sorry. He bragged about it. Not Day Hall. Everyone sucks here except your wife. Others are letting you off the hook, but you too are an a-hole. You're a 30s male, and you allowed peer pressure to force you to hang out? Yes, he stole your phone and that makes him the biggest a-hole for him deliberately pulling his crap. But you as a grown man who should be keeping better tabs on your stuff. And you as an adult need to learn to put your foot down. But I guess this was a learning experience for you. I agree Opie's not off the hook. Brother-in-law may have hidden the phone, but Opie is an adult. Grow a backbone. Keep track of your stuff. Opie decided to go drink with friends when his wife was full term. The newest phone was missing for over an hour before borrowing a phone to call in? That's his own actions there. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for excluding my brother from the family vacation after we almost caused my daughter to get hurt? Me, 35 female, and my brother, 30 male, are very close, and we always have been. He has been coming over almost every day for the past couple years, and he practically lives in my house, despite him having his own apartment. I don't mind it, and neither does my husband because he helps out around the house and is great with my daughter Stella, 10 female. Every year, we go on a family vacation with me, my husband, my daughter, and my brother. I don't bring our mom and dad because they already do their own vacations around this time. It's nothing personal. This year, we were going to stay at a hotel by a beach, and I reserved suite rooms for all 4 of us. The vacation is in 1 week at this moment. Yesterday, I had to run a few errands and I needed my husband to help out with a few of them. So I asked my brother to babysit Stella while we were gone, and he agreed. I told him thank you and then was out the door. I was a little bit worried because he has never babysat Stella before. I don't usually need my husband for errands, and he is unemployed so he's always home. But I knew how great he was with her and assumed everything would be fine. After running the errands, I drove back home. And to my horror, I saw my daughter sitting in the road playing with her dolls. I stopped the car, ran out, grabbed my daughter and brought her inside. But as soon as I walked in, I saw my brother watching some movie on the couch. I screamed something along the lines of, "What the hell? You just left my daughter unsupervised in the road after I told you to babysit her. She could have gotten run over by a car or someone could have kidnapped her. You're always so great with Stella, and I gave you one job. To babysit her for a while over an hour while I run errands. Screw you. Get out of my house and you were excluded from the family vacation." He stared at me with wide eyes and said something like, "I didn't mean to. I just got so into the movie and I thought Stella would be okay. And at least she didn't get ran over/kidnapped. And afterwards, he started begging for me to let him go on the vacation still. Saying he never gets to do anything nice, and it would be cruel to exclude him from one little mishap. He called me a major a-hole. He asked some of my friends about it, and most of them said, although what he did was wrong, he said sorry and it was just a mistake, and I should stop being such an a-hole. None of them have kids though. Anyways, am I the a-hole? Extra information edit. Stella can be slow and sometimes acts way younger than she is, and she has gotten into dangerous situations before. We haven't brought a doctor into this situation because we assumed she'd grow out of it. Anyways, I thought it'd be safer to have her be babysat due to us noticing this. Probably should have mentioned this. Changed vote below. Was everyone 6 here? He should have been more attentive. But your child is 10. That's plenty old enough to know to not go sit in the road. If he has never watched her before, he may have assumed, usually rightly, that the child is relatively self-sufficient for a bit and would reach out if anything was needed. You have a right to be angry. But your child also holds some blame here, and if this is typical of your child, you should have prepped him for babysitting better, and her better for her own decisions and safety. After you read it, it's definitely you're the a-hole. 1. Seek professional evaluations for your daughter. I'm also assuming she's in school. Have no teachers brought up concerns? 2. Ensure all those responsible for your daughter know to be very vigilant and are aware of her delays/impairments. They homeschool her, so no one else has been able to notice her delays. This is so messed up. That girl's never been to a doctor? She needs an evaluation and probably special schooling OP can't or isn't providing. Not everyone should be homeschooled, especially not when used to keep her from treatment, a diagnosis she clearly needs. Info. Why was your 10-year-old sitting in the road? At 10, I was responsible for my younger siblings and helping them cross the roads and be safe. I even went up to London with my younger sister on our own. Unless your daughter is significantly disabled, your brother had every right to assume that she'd be safe enough for him to relax and not to worry about her too much. You're the a-hole, unless there's disability that you haven't mentioned in the post. Editing to add. Major, you're the a-hole here. Your daughter may have a disability, but you haven't bothered seeking the help of professionals and you didn't bother letting your brother know? At 10 years old, there's every expectation of her being able to be fairly and supervised for a period of time. If she needs more supervision than the average 10 years old, you must tell people if you ask them to babysit. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for only allowing my friend and her son to move in with me and not her husband? My friend Claire, 33, and I, 35, have been close for years. Went to same school, worked same job, and she's like a sister I never had. However, her now husband Thomas and I just never got on. It wasn't blatant, but she tried to get Claire and I to stop hanging out together. The reason was he wanted her to move away from a job opportunity, but she didn't because of me saying she wanted to be near me. Thomas resented me. Days prior to their wedding, he accused me of taking the gold bracelet he got for Claire and lied about seeing it with me. This started a huge conflict, and Claire and I ended up not talking and me being dropping out of the wedding as the maid of honor. We drifted apart since then, but over a year later, Claire reached out and apologized, telling me she was pregnant and that she wanted me to be part of her baby's life as auntie. We had therapy together and things got better. I still don't talk to Thomas nor see him, and Claire respected my wish to stay in no contact with him. Lately, Claire has been struggling with money. She has debts and could no longer pay her mortgage. She asked if she, Thomas, and their 7-month-old baby could move in with me till they find money to rent an apartment. I agreed to let her and her son move in, but not Thomas, given that I'm not on good terms with him after what happened in the past. Claire thought it wasn't right, so I suggested a friend to take them all in. But she said she asked me specifically because I was closer to her than the others. She said it wasn't right to keep her son from his dad, and since she needed help with the baby, then I should consider it. This is what made me think I was wrong for not letting her husband move in. She's clearly overwhelmed and needs help, but I just couldn't bring myself to see him in my house. I would feel very uncomfortable. She said she could make him apologize, but I felt like I was being cornered and pressured into letting him move in. I gave my final decision, which was a no, that Thomas can't move in. We had an argument, and she got emotional about it. Now, our mutual friend said I could suck it up for a month and be patient with Claire since she's a new mom dealing with PPD and naturally wants her partner to be with her. I still said Thomas isn't allowed in my home, but I got called resentful for being hung up on the past instead of helping out. Now for the comments. Not today, Hall. There is no way in hell I would allow someone who accused me of stealing to live in my home. Who knows what he would say if he started feeling threatened by you again. Nope, nope, nope. Anyone who accuses me of stealing anything but their heart is never welcome in my house. Not today, Hall. You're not obligated to host people who have intentionally wronged you. She knows he's the reason your friendship took a huge hit, and that it's something he lied about to manipulate her. She should be evaluating stuff with him. Your friend needs a place to stay, as does her son-did partner. You offered a place for her and her son, but you can't trust your partner because of his actions and complete lack of remorse for how it's affecting you both. Only a-hole here is the partner for his previous actions. Your friend and you are not a-holes for this. She's asked and you gave your answer. If your mutual friend is happy for you to suck it up and let him move in, then maybe they should be offering a place for all three of them. This, totally agreed. Opie not a-hole. Husband sounds like the kind of person who, if you allowed him to move in, would 1. Act like the house is his own. 2. Stay your crap up between you and your friend. You can't maintain a close friendship with a married mother and permanently exclude her husband/baby daddy from your life. That's just never going to work. This friendship ended the moment Claire took Thomas's side and completely ignored your lifelong friendship and logic/reason regarding the bracelet. Claire knows this. You know this. And you're just kidding yourself trying to make this work now. Claire is on her own. She chose Thomas over you, and actions have consequences. I know she is stressed, feels alone, is overwhelmed, etc., but she dug this hole and now she has to live in it. And realistically, the only way you and her will ever have a chance of rekindling your friendship is if Thomas and Claire divorce. Since that is likely not to happen anytime soon, it's probably best if you both go your separate ways. Not an a-hole. Last story. Am I the a-hole for calling my parents terrible parents during a family argument? Some quick background to get us started. I'm 5 years older than my sister, and my parents sucked at adding to the family. They told me mom was pregnant the day I was going to my aunt's for the weekend, and they explained it to me that baby was going to be the most important person in the family. How it got to be the most important person for 5 whole years, and before that, mom and dad were that for each other. But now she was coming. I was devastated. I pretty much assumed I would be replaced totally. It is not all that far from what happened. They let the ball drop with me, and were not as attentive as they used to be, nowhere even close. They missed a lot and it took years for it to feel like they cared again. When I was 18, I moved out and soon after I found out they had been approved to be foster parents. I wasn't told about any of this until it was a done deal basically. I knew it was a terrible idea, but my sister had gone along, and so had some other family and friends. Except my aunt who was vocal about not being sure how good of an idea it was, given how poorly they handled adding a second child to the family. The foster daughter arrived, and it was a very big change for my sister. Suddenly she was ignored, she felt unwanted, and had such a hard time coming to terms with how distant our parents became after 13 years of being the center of attention. Their foster daughter was 11, and I do feel bad she was thrown into the mess because she had no stability before from what I was told, and was pretty much always unwanted. What ended up happening was a couple of months ago, the caseworker called and my sister exploded and said how horrible things were. Things unraveled, and their foster daughter was removed from the home. My sister went to live with me. She's 16, and my parents are furious with her. But our aunt has her back in this, as well as me. Now, on to the reason for the post. I was at my aunt's with my sister, and my parents showed up to argue it out. They turned on my sister and aunt for having their foster daughter removed, and saying how selfish and heartless she was. I cut them off, and told them it wasn't her fault. It was theirs. And if they weren't such terrible parents, none of this would have happened. They said I'm supposed to be grown now, and it was a childish comeback. And an a-hole moved to throw out the way I did. Are they right? Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It sounds like they had it coming for a long time, and I am astounded you or your sister haven't snapped before this. I'm so sorry that you had to experience that kind of childhood. Neglect comes in all shapes and sizes. Edit. I should also point out that it is a good thing that girl was removed from their custody. She needed a stable home, not to be used as a shiny new child for them when they apparently got bored of your sister. Not the a-hole. That's child neglect, and it's the main reason the people from foster care took her away. I don't know what's wrong with your parents. If they're incapable to raise more than one kid at a time, then why would you even have more? Hope you and your sister are doing alright, Opie. She's doing better than she was. I'm used to it by now. I got 5 years. Yes, I was supposed to get 18 years worth of parenting in 5. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to share my inheritance with my cousins? My father's brother John got divorced some years ago because his relationship with his wife Kate became toxic. He had to give up his living house as alimony to her, and both his kids, 19 and 17, refused to remain in contact with him because Kate told them to choose any one of their parents. So he started living with my parents, and we both had formed a very good bond. A few weeks ago, he died due to heart attack. When we met with his lawyer, Larry, we got to know that he had hidden a lot of his financial stuff from his ex-wife. He told us that divorce as well as alimony was mutually decided between John and his ex-wife, so he didn't have to disclose his properties in court. We got to know that he miraculously acquired 3 houses after his divorce, out of which he passed 2 to me and 1 to my sister. He listed my dad as beneficiary on his insurance and passed 2 bank accounts to his sons and 1 account to Kate. Larry also told me that I inherited some stocks. He asked me would I like to share those stocks to my cousin, to which I refused. Now I am being confronted by Kate that John defrauded her and their sons, and she's telling me that she will sue him. Larry told her that he will then file a counter case for defamation against her, and listed that she has no claims to support her statements and wished her best of luck for suing a dead person. My parents are feeling guilty for my cousins, and they want to split our inheritance with them, which I don't want to because this money will make our future secure, and I know how much John was upset with his sons. If he wanted them to get anything, he would have listed it in his will. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Don't go against your dead uncle's wishes. Obviously he felt strongly about his own kids disowning him, and now they're just concerned that they were left out of his fortunes after he's gone. Your cousins sound like crappy people. Yep, they chose badly the money stakes. And don't give them a single thing, even an apology. A lawyer can use that against you and help invalidate the will. It unravels fast when it all gets going. Hold tight and keep your mouth and wallet shut. Actually, according to OP, his uncle left each of his sons and ex-wife 1 of his bank accounts apiece. Since the divorce was final before his death, and a property settlement had been approved by the court and executed, his ex would apparently not have a legal leg to stand on. OP, you're not a a-hole. Keep what you inherited with a clear conscience. If your parents want to give a portion of their inheritance to your cousins, nothing is stopping them from doing so. Not a a-hole. Your uncle provided for his sons and his ex-wife in his will. He also made a conscious decision to provide for you and other members of your family. That was your uncle's choice. It is his right to decide how his estate is divided. You're not obligated to share your portion with anyone just because they're upset that they didn't get everything. Not to mention, if how Opie described the divorce is accurate, the aunt doesn't have a leg to stand on. She agreed on what she got in alimony and child support, and didn't require all assets being shown in the court. Not a a-hole. He wanted you to have them and not his sons. You don't have to share anything with those who cut him off for really no reason at all. They did get bank accounts, so they did get something. Follow what your uncle wanted. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for making my husband kick his sister out of our house? I, 28 female, have been married to my husband, 30 male, for 3 years, together for almost 5. He is in the military and travels often, so I stay alone at home. When I was a kid, I was really into stuffed animals, but when my nieces were born, I gave them almost all of them, except for the 3 that were special to me. 1 was given to me by my dad when I turned 2. The second one was given by one of my dad's friends on my 7th birthday, and it's named after him, Johnny. Sadly passed away in a car accident, so I always kept that one to remember him. The third one was given to me by my dad after he had a car accident. He brought it on his way back, and everywhere I moved, I brought them with me. Never paid attention to what people said. 2 months ago, my sister-in-law, 20 female, asked if she could stay with us since she lost her job and was struggling to pay rent, plus college, etc. My husband asked me if I would be okay with it since he would be deployed soon and I would be the one staying with her. I agreed since we never really had an issue before. My husband left a month ago and everything was going okay with his sister. She goes to class online, she would keep her room clean, we would buy groceries, and sometimes she would help. The only issue that we had was that she couldn't bring people over if she was alone at our house. One time, she brought her boyfriend, and we just told her that in that case she needed to let us know since we don't really know him. The issue now. Last week, my husband got back from his deployment since it was just a course or something like that. We planned to go out for the weekend to spend time alone. And when we got back, I found Johnny in a trash can with one of his arms cut off. I started asking what happened. I went to check and the elephant was missing too. I asked sister-in-law since she was the one there, and she told me her boyfriend brought his little sister around, and she was playing with him and she ripped his arm. And since it was old, she threw it in the trash, and she took the pink elephant since she really liked it. I started crying and told her she had no right to throw it away. But my husband got involved and told her she broke every single rule and disrespected us at our house, that she needed to tell his boyfriend to bring that elephant back right now and start packing her things to leave. She got mad and started arguing with my husband and called me a baby for crying over stuffed animals. She called her boyfriend and brought it back, and my husband said he would take Johnny to get fixed too. Now his parents are calling us and saying we are a bunch of babies reacting that way over two stuffed animals like we were kids. That how dare he kicked his own sister out like that. He told them he was not arguing with them and to pay for a place for her since we aren't free hotel. Everyone in his family is mad at us and blaming me, saying I manipulated my husband and put him against his own family. I don't think we did anything wrong, but all the messages are getting to me now. Am I the a-hole for the way I reacted? Not the a-hole. Not only did she violate the rules you guys set out, she let someone else's child play with your precious keepsakes and break one. Instead of trying to fix her mistake, she simply threw it away. The audacity. Good for your husband for sticking up for you and holding his ground. Sounds like a keeper. She also gave one away. I would ask each and every one of those family members what they would do if someone stole their mementos of loved ones. Yes, the title made it sound like she forced her husband to do it when he was completely on her page. That sister was awful to let a child destroy a childhood toy and steal another. Parents of husband are no better that they excuse this behavior and called OP childish as well. Not a-hole, of course, but the title conflicts with the content. If the content is right, you did not make your husband throw her out, but he did the right thing on his own. So if that is true, special kudos to your husband. Perfect reaction. I typed it like that because that is everyone is saying, that I make him kick his sister out. Yeah, well, good indication in how serious to take those people. Makes one wonder if they even know what happened. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not telling my wife I have biological children? I, 44 male, have been with my wife 12 years, married for 6. We have 3 beautiful kids. We support our kids, we live in our dream home, we vacation often. Life is good for us, and I have no complaints. The problem is, when I was in college, I was 19, a classmate of mine and her wife approached me about being a donor of her and her wife. They were both in their late 20s and wanted to have children. So I agree, and told my parents about it. Lawyers were involved that I was not to seek them out or try to contact them or the kids. Everyone was on the same page, and eventually found out they both were able to get pregnant. A few months later, I signed some more papers at a lawyer's office. Never heard anything else. They moved on, I moved on. Then when visiting my parents, my wife and I ran into this family. Their son looks exactly like me, to the point where it was uncomfortable, and their daughter looks like my sister. They introduced us and it was awkward but pleasant. My wife was completely blindsided, but I understand. I never brought it up with my wife because when we first started dating, fertility was a huge trigger for her because she had been told she would never have kids. But then we started popping out babies, so I never felt the need to bring this up because I could legally never be involved with these kids. Like ever. But now she's threatening divorce. She's really struggling with the fact that our kids have siblings. I try to tell her that they don't, that they aren't my kids. And these women, their mothers, mean literally nothing to me. I go years without even giving them a thought. In hindsight, I could have, but I really was trying not to trigger a very sensitive issue for her. And we eventually have beautiful children of our own. So I feel like the a-hole. Edited to add, I have acknowledged my wife's feelings. She handed me my butt several times, but I haven't even tried to tell her she's wrong for being upset. I'm trying to get her to agree to therapy. These pregnancies were done in a clinic, so I did not sleep with these women. I have had copies of everything sent over to show my wife, including the non-disclosure agreement, because we went to the same university, and parental rights. Now for the comments. No a-holes here. I get both sides. To you, those children are not your children. You donated genetic materials and that was the end of your involvement. However, I can also see your wife's side, because she didn't know. If I knew my husband had donated seed, it wouldn't bother me. If he knew that had resulted in a child and hadn't mentioned it to me, I'd have felt hurt and lied too. And that is probably what's upsetting your wife. She feels you deceived her. And if you kept this from her, what else have you kept from her? Not least, because my mind would be going to the what ifs in terms of if our child got into a relationship with their biological sibling. This is the answer. You are literally a sperm donor, and that's what the legal papers are all about. Proof that you can't approach them and vice versa. It was a transaction that took place before you even met your wife. That said, from her perspective, you have fathered children, and as a parent, she's feeling like that's a very big deal, even in absentia. It may have her wondering, if you can be a father without telling me after the 12 years we've been together, then what else do I not know about you? Personally, I think threatening divorce is quite an overreaction. But what's called for is probably some marriage counseling to work through this. Once a trained professional is involved to help you both work through your different points of view, you can hopefully go on your married path together. The important thing to focus on after all this is the 3 children you created and raised together, not the 2 you donated seed for. Good luck. No a-holes here. I get why she's mad, and I absolutely get why you didn't say anything. Do you think marriage counseling will help? She's reluctant to try therapy. I keep bringing it up, but she's so angry. And I get it. In her mind, you lied to her and withheld information. In your mind, you were trying to spare her emotions when she was having difficulties getting pregnant. Good luck, OP. Soft, you're the a-hole. Never mentioning it? Did you date for a second, then start trying to have kids? That's a little weird. I mean, your wife is overreacting, but also it is a little weird. Yes, we had kids very quickly. Before we got married, her decision to wait to get married is because of school. Still, it's something that absolutely should have been brought up. She now is wondering how many other things just didn't get brought up. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not accommodating my friend who recently had a baby? My friend recently had a baby. We are in our mid-20s, so we're still very much the type to go out and have fun at bars, parties, nightclubs, travel to new places, you name it. But she got pregnant last year and had a baby, so we haven't been able to do much of that for obvious reasons. I've always supported her, even planned her baby shower for her and got her home ready for when she came back with her newborn. But recently she came to me ass backwards and went off on me because I apparently did not accommodate her and her child. She went on to say that she was upset because I'm always doing stuff without her knowing she has a baby. She brought up the fact that after her baby shower, a few of us in our circle went out to a local bar we always go to, and she couldn't go because she was very pregnant and they smoke inside that bar. I asked her what the issue was, because I had spent the entire day making sure she didn't lift a finger for her baby shower, that my friends wanted to treat me to some drinks after all the hard work I did. It was after we had cleaned up for her baby shower, and she was even complaining about how tired she was. She then said that I always want to go out to places that aren't child-friendly, and that wasn't fair to her because she deserves to hang out with her friends too. But she actually does hang out with us all the time. Every few weeks, our friend group does a barbecue where she can bring the baby around us and hang out with us. We even visit her on separate occasions just to spend time with her or invite her out to lunch. Then a few weeks ago, we all went to an adults-only casino cruise, and she was super upset that she couldn't go and kept asking why we couldn't go to a place like Family Resort, where she could bring her kid. We are all heavy drinkers when we party. When we want to party, we freaking party. And that's no place to bring a 6-month-old baby no matter where we do end up going. We just want to have fun, and not worry that little Billy has to have a diaper change and the music is too loud or vulgar. She got very upset that a few of us went to a new bar they opened up in our downtown district after work, and she couldn't make it because of the baby. We did invite her in case she could spare a few hours, but that didn't happen. She even said that we were purposefully excluding her. To that I simply replied, I'm sorry you're feeling that way, but we're a bunch of single 20-something-year-old people working 10 hours a day, 40 to 70 hours a week. I wanted to have a drink or two. We didn't choose to have a kid with you, therefore we don't have to always worry about accommodating you. You had a baby. Life changed for you. I have no issue making more time for you, but I'm not going to stop going to some of my favorite places with some of my favorite people whenever I want to and can, because you have other responsibilities now. She got very, very angry and hung up on me. So I want to know, am I the a-hole for not always accommodating with my friend? Not the a-hole. She had a kid. And having kids comes with adult responsibilities and giving up the party life in this stage of her child's life. You said you all have been accommodating and do invite her to child-friendly things, which is a compromise. It's not fair or reasonable for you all to drop your fun time plans because she became a parent. Thank you. We've told her this, and she doesn't want to hear it. No sense in trying to change her mind, you know. Sounds like she's just jealous and upset that she's missing out, and unfortunately that's the path she's chosen. I'd give her space to cool down and have motherhood set in for her. Who knows? It might change her for the better. Wow. If she wants to go that badly, she can get a freaking sitter. I'm a mom to a 3-year-old, and I would never behave like this. Being a mom means you can't go to absolutely everything. It also means that you can't force your friends to stop having fun because you had a kid. That's ridiculous. Not stay home. That's what we tell her. And she has gotten one a few times, but her issue is she doesn't want to miss anything. I don't even have a kid, and I even can't make it to everything my friends do. We all can't. We are adults working crazy hours. Your friend has the fear of missing out and is struggling with the fact that life for her has changed. You're not a-hole, and she'll have to accept that not every plan/event/venue will be family-friendly, and that may mean she can't attend. It won't be forever. Moms can go out and have fun too, but you're under no obligation to make your lives PG because she had a baby. Am I the a-hole for telling my kids why we're getting a divorce? Alright, this is messy. Me and my ex-wife got married at 23 and had 3 kids. The 3 kids are 17, 15, and 14. I recently found out my ex-wife has been cheating on me for 3 years. Once I confronted her, she broke down, saying that I was never home and always working. By the way, I worked like that so she could be a stay-at-home mom. I raised my kids to know that cheating is one of the worst things in the world. If you no longer love someone, break up with them. Don't cheat. Even if you have issues with a relationship, work it out or leave them. Now, before we sat them down, their mother begged me not to tell them she cheated. I told her that if they ask, I would not lie. She tried to dance around the whole reason for the divorce, citing adult issues. Then our 14-year-old asked why we were getting a divorce, and I told him, flat out, that she cheated on me for 3 years. The mother immediately burst out crying, and all the kids were incredibly angry with her. It's been 3 months, and they still haven't spoken to her, saying she ruined their family and their lives, and that she's a cheater and a liar. She's been coming after me online, saying that I'm a bastard and ruined her relationship with her kids. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I'm a child of divorce. I would have rather known the truth at the time my parents split than learn it a few years later. Your wife cheated. That is a fact. But she wanted to conceal that fact. That is an unrealistic expectation. Bad news is not a fine wine. It does not improve with age. Her relationship with the children took a backseat to her infidelity the moment she cheated. You owe her nothing, especially lying to protect her. Absolutely this. I still don't know what split up my parents 30 years ago. Not a hole. If it makes you feel any better, I didn't want to tell my kids I was living in a dead bedroom before my divorce. And my ex-wife made it feel like I was the strange one because I liked kissing and having a physical relationship, and thought I should just accept it. I'm still not sure how you'd tell them that when my oldest was 12 at the time. She's been coming after me online saying that I'm a bastard and ruined her relationship with her kids. Oh my god, the nerve of that woman. She ruined her relationship with them when she decided to cheat on you. 100% not a hole. And thank you for being honest with your kids and treating them like adults and not trying to sugarcoat it. They deserve honesty and transparency in this situation too. You didn't ruin anything. She did by cheating. I was the kid in the scenario before. But not once did I think it was my dad's fault for ruining my relationship with her for telling the truth, nor did slandering from her help. Stand by your kids close. They'll need it too during this. Even consider family therapy. Not today, Hall. I was a kid in this scenario too, and I knew what my mother was doing. Kids know more than you think they know. My parents decided to stay together though, for my sister and I. So I grew up with an alcoholic mother constantly fighting with my dad. Thankfully now my mom is sober, and my best friend, and they are still married. Things worked out in the end. Not today, Hall. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my stepsister she's allowed to be unhappy about her parents' divorce and her dad's remarriage? Last year, my mom married her husband. She and I lost my dad 3 years before, while her new husband was divorced 13 months at that point. I'm the youngest of 3, and my older siblings are both in college. My mom's husband has a 12-year-old daughter, and just like me, this is hard for her. She's still upset about her parents' divorce and isn't happy about her dad marrying my mom. I can say I'm happy for my mom, but not happy overall that we're here, that we were in a circumstance where she needed to remarry. Honestly, I'm not sure I would ever have been ready, so I can't say I would ever make a big deal out of it. She was grumpy last weekend, and her dad was trying to get her to spend some time with my mom. She ended up holding up in her room, and I went to go talk to her. She said I didn't get it, but I told her I didn't love it either. That my feelings were mixed because my mom deserves to be happy and I was happy for her, but I couldn't say it made me happy. I told her it's okay not to be happy. I told her it was okay to be unhappy that her parents divorced and her dad remarried. That our feelings aren't wrong because they're our feelings. I told her it's not abnormal to be unhappy when your parents divorce. That I have friends who still wished their parents had a divorce after more than 10 years. That of course some people won't feel that way too, and it's fine. I told her if she felt like she needed to, she could probably find an adult she trusts to talk to. She ended up talking to her dad, and he and my mom are pissed about what I said to her. They told me it's not okay to be unhappy when your parents are happier, and that I should be happy to have grown my family again after a death. Does what I said make me the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You probably helped the daughter by saying that, and it's simply true. No one should be forced to act happy about a certain thing, especially not when it's divorce and remarriage. The simple fact is that happiness can't be forced. Kiddo would have been feeling unhappy, and then feeling guilty for not feeling happy. That's a rather cruel thing to do to anyone. Not today, Hall. Clearly you have more emotional maturity than your mom and stepdad in this situation. Your comments are 100% right. Don't feel sorry for feeling this way, or for saying it to stepsister. Right? 100% OP in my opinion isn't a right and not a hole. In fact, by acknowledging the feelings, it would be possible to move past them. Your parents are doing a great job making sure she resents the situation forever. Not a hole. Your mom and stepdad need to take off their psychedelic glasses and realize their marriage is about them. Stepsister should not be forced to spend time with your mom. I know her dad thinks it will facilitate the bonding process, but at the age you girls are, the happy blended family may never happen. Socially functioning blended family may be the best that can happen. You girls need to build relationships with your step-parents at the pace you feel comfortable with. Good for you for talking to your step. I'm sure it made her feel good that someone understood. Hugs. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for giving my stepson's room to my daughter? I'll try to keep this short. I've been married to my wife for over a year now. Have a stepson, 14 male, and a biological daughter, 9 female. When we married, my wife and I agreed that I would sell my house and move into hers because there's more living space. Stepson already had his own room, so my daughter got the extra bedroom, which is smaller than his. It was fine at first, but my daughter has a lot of stuff, and soon it became too small and cramped for her. Stepson also lives with us part-time, 5 days with us, 9 days with my dad, and has a huge room at his dad's. My daughter lives with us full-time, so this is her only room. It seemed to me that the logical thing would be for my daughter to have the larger room since she has more stuff, and spends all of her time here. Wife was hesitant at first, and felt like my stepson would be upset and feel like he's being pushed aside, but I convinced her that my daughter needed a space more, so she ultimately agreed. We ended up switching rooms this week, freshly painted them, and my wife did some shopping for stepson's new room so he'd feel special. He came home from his dad's and we surprised him with his new room. He reacted okay, thanked us for the new stuff and didn't seem upset at first. But now he's been moping and has been cold to all of us. Wife is now regretting our choice and upset at me for convincing her that it would be fine. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole for not discussing with your stepson first. At least give the kid a heads up. Jesus. That's what I was thinking. He's old enough to have discussed this first. Info. Why did you bother to run this by your stepson? I mean, considering he reacted okay, he sounds like a decent kid. But WTF? I'd be pissed if I was just ejected from my room by my stepdad without my input. Even if it was for understandable reasons. You're the a-hole for the surprise alone. The rest of your reasoning makes some sense, but you really disrespected him by doing it this way. This was a beg for forgiveness instead of ask permission kind of scenario. You're the a-hole. Talk about prioritizing one kid over the other. His whole world is changing. His mom is remarrying. He has a new parent and sibling moving in. He has to go back and forth between houses. And you just completely took away safe space to give it to your kid. Now you can't be certain that he doesn't feel like a part of your family. Because when he left for a few days, you took away his room. I feel awful for him. Imagine coming back to that. Surprise! Your room is gone. Your new little stepsister took it. Wow, I feel sick. If you're not ready to parent both kids equally, which it sounds like you're not, please don't move in with this kid. Next story. Am I the a-hole for giving my stepmom a letter from my sister, knowing it would upset her and my dad? I, 16 male, lost my sister 5 months ago. She'd had cancer for almost 2 years. She knew she was dying, and before it happened, she wrote a letter telling our stepmom she had never loved her, never wanted her around, and that she was not welcome at her funeral, as well as other stuff my sister didn't tell me about. I knew the idea of the letter was to let our stepmom know she had never grown to love her. She asked me to give it to her before she died, and I did what she asked. I heard nothing about the letter for months, but neither my dad nor stepmom showed up to the funeral, and my dad was talking to me like normal. Then a month ago, he confronted me over it. He asked what kind of stunt it was and how could I be so cruel to someone who was grieving. I told him she had wanted me to give her the letter, that she wrote it and wanted our stepmom to know. I think he was shocked because he seemed to think I wrote the letter or something. Or maybe our mom did, since she and our stepmom always hated each other's guts. My dad was really upset and asked had she always felt that way. I said yes. He stopped the conversation and went back to his place. And it was a week after when he and my stepmom said I was a cruel bastard for doing that to them. That I should have burned the letter and let my sister's last words to my stepmom be something else. My dad told me he was done with me, that I had broken his wife's heart, that I had trampled on 13 years of being our stepmom, all to help my sister's bitterness be the thing that lived on instead of something else. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You did something incredibly hard. The fact that your dad is willing to miss his daughter's funeral and then cut you out after this speaks volumes about what kind of trash dad he is. I'm so sorry for your loss. Dad is a horrendous father, but Dad's sister pulled a super prick move in Opie. Why didn't she pass the letter on herself? Or even ask Opie to put it in mail for her? Sister had to know this would cause blowback. That's why she never said this stuff when she was alive. She selfishly put Opie in a position to take the heat, and there was no reason for this. Opie, be kind to yourself. You haven't done anything wrong. Not the a-hole. First off, I just want to say that I'm truly sorry for your loss, and that you are having to deal with this stupidity while you grieve. You carried out Sister's final wishes. You had nothing to do with what she said or how she felt. Your father and stepmom are major a-holes, though. I understand that they are grieving as well. But to take that out on you is disgusting. They should really be taking the time to evaluate their own actions and try to understand what they did to make your sister feel the way that she did. Don't feel bad about anything regarding this situation. You were not at fault and you did nothing wrong. Info. I feel like there's got to be more to this story. Like, what's your stepmom like? Why did your sister dislike her so much? I have an issue with how strict she can be, and how she expected us to follow her rules when we were at home with our mom. I don't hate her though, but my sister had much deeper issues with her that I'm not even sure of why. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to be a surrogate for my sister-in-law because of vanity? I, 25 female, used to be so close with my sister-in-law. My brother and I were close growing up, And when he started dating and eventually met his now wife almost 6 years ago, I was thrilled because she is an amazing woman who brings out the best in him. She has also supported me in coming out to my family as a lesbian, being the first to proudly display her support, and she makes my brother happier than I have ever seen him. I say all of this because the turn of events has left me entirely distressed. For the past 3 years after they got married, they have been trying to get pregnant. They got some medical procedures done, and eventually learned one of them is infertile. Since then, they have been looking into alternatives. One of them was surrogacy. Last month, I was on call with my brother and his wife when they started to very subtly hint that surrogacy is expensive, and they were sure that they wanted a biological child to be related to at least one of them. My brother suggested maybe they could find someone within the family willing to volunteer. I wished them luck, and they both kinda stared at me, and then it clicked. I immediately said I would not be their surrogate. I loved them and felt for them, but I was never going to get pregnant ever. They seemed disappointed, but moved on. Ever since, they have been bugging me, dropping hints, but I have always disengaged or cut them off sharply on the topic. Then 3 days ago, my sister-in-law and I went to our downtown area for book shopping, and I made it clear to her that I would not discuss surrogacy with her or I would leave. We passed by a clothing shop with a toddler mannequin, and she broke down and eventually snapped at me why I wouldn't do this one thing for her and my brother. And this is where I may be the a-hole. I have low self-confidence in how I look, and I always have. I am on the curvy side of body shaping, leaning towards heavier build, and I hate it. I've never felt beautiful in my life. I know pregnancy absolutely destroys women's bodies, and I'm only barely beginning to feel good when I see my reflection. I know that a pregnancy would absolutely destroy that. I lost my temper when she started begging, and yelled at her that I would not be destroying my self-confidence for her and my brother, and stormed off. We drove in separate cars. I feel bad because I know that they really want a family, and I do love my sister-in-law, but I just cannot do this for them. They have been calling and texting, but I haven't answered. There are other reasons, but this is the big one and what I said specifically in this situation. Am I the a-hole? Edited to end. Okay, because I saw this in the comments a couple of times and I also realized how gross this sounded without clarification. My brother is the one who cannot have children. Sister-in-law's worried about how my brother would feel if she got pregnant by another man because he was cheated on by a previous flame. It was a big thing that nearly destroyed him until he met my sister-in-law. And he has admitted in the past that he could not handle it if she was carrying another man's child. Saying that makes me realize that they sound even more a-holish. I will be speaking to them after I have a few more days to calm down and gather some research and then speaking to them about this. I'll make sure to include laws and details about surrogacy, and I will tell them that I am willing to help them look into adoption. But after the harassment, I do not think I would be a good person for a character witness if they choose to go that route. No matter how this talk goes, I will be taking a step back from my relationship with them. Thank you for all the prompt advice and support. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Professional agencies wouldn't even let you do it. They want surrogates to have already given birth before because only those women really understand the commitment being made. To be clear, even if you already had a child, you'd still be not the a-hole for refusing. Surrogacy is such a big deal that surrogates are paid $30,000 or more. Someone asking for a $30,000 favor is a lot, and they should be fully prepared to hear no. Not the a-hole. Being a surrogate is a giant task. You have to have the right frame of mind for it most of all. There is a reason why it is so expensive. And honestly, if you have body-related issues, you probably wouldn't pass to be a paid surrogate, like an official one, anyways. Giving the gift of a child is the biggest physical and mental thing a woman can be asked to do. And no woman should ever be forced, coerced, guilted into doing so regardless of the situation. It is not your responsibility to supply your brother and sister-in-law with children. They are not a-holes for asking, but they are for pushing.